gentlemen.
Uh-oh.
It's time for the Early Bird Special. Bringing you the best stories from the world of sports and sports entertainment. Now, here are your hosts, Sparky and Burdick.
We've been talking football all morning, and to be honest with you, you're going to have to get used to that. You're just going to have to get used to it. Football's back. It may start on Thursday, but football's back. I know it's just a Hall of Fame game, but who cares? Football is back, and we're all excited about it. So we're going to go down our list here of the divisions and continue that for you. We did the AFC West on Monday and the NFC West. We took care of the North yesterday, and today we will be taking care of the AFC and NFC South, starting with the AFC. I could do the NFC off the top of my head, but I'm trying not to be a homer at the same time here. I'm telling you right now. We'll get to that here at the 8 o'clock hour. But starting with the AFC South, I'm going to state what I stated yesterday. Really start this, but what I stated yesterday. The NFC and AFC Norths I expect to be the most competitive divisions in football this season.
What?
That's where I'm going to put it. I'm telling you right now, the Ravens, the Ravens, the Browns, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Bengals. And then you take the North as well, the Lions, the Packers, the Bears, and the Vikings. Those are the two most competitive divisions in football this year. And most of them have the hardest schedules in football. When we look at the South, it's the exact opposite. These are the easiest divisions in football, in my opinion. And when you really look at it top to bottom, the teams and how good they are, very winnable divisions. So, to start with the AFC, in my personal opinion, until I improve it otherwise, until I see a massive step back from this team, the AFC South has been and will continue to be dominated by the Houston Texans.
Yep.
CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans have looked good and continue to look good. DeMeco Ryans knows what he's doing down there, and they have built a formidable team to at least get to the playoffs every single season. My only concern is you've yet to really take that next step into contendership. And we really haven't seen that from the Houston Texans in a long, long time, even during the J.J. Watt days. I know a lot of people wanted J.J. Watt to contend for a championship, and they had some great-looking teams for a long time with Andre Johnson and a lot of those other guys. You got the Schaub years. But ever since then, we've never really seen the Houston Texans take that leap into us truly believing that they are a Super Bowl contending team. I would like to say that we could potentially see that this year. This is the third year for C.J. Stroud. You would assume that he's now got the bad part behind him, which if you really look at the last 2 years of his career, the first two of his career, I should say, they're pretty much the same. Even as a sophomore slump, he still had a pretty successful year last year with the Houston Texans. And I would expect that to happen again this year, if not getting better. So until I see otherwise, the Houston Texans will probably continue to dominate this division. And that's just my thoughts. I think I give them about 10 to 12
everyone's thoughts. I don't think that that division is weak. I think we saw. I mean, maybe not Super Bowl contending team, but they're a playoff team.
100%.
And even without that weak ass division, I'm gonna agree. Texans take that division, and it'll be a while until I think anyone else is competitive in it.
Yeah.
And I mean, just going off of last year, 10-7. The Colts were about the closest with 8-9, and I still think the Colts take a step back this year.
Yep.
And this was probably the easiest division to prep for.
It really was, and it's not taking a slight at really the teams themselves. When you look at their strength of schedule too, it should be a pretty easy season for all four of these teams. They're all in the bottom half. The Houston Texans have the hardest schedule out of all of them, and they're 18th. So when you look at it, I would expect Houston to at least win 10 to 12 games. But at this point right now, I agree with you, Sparky. I just don't think that any of the rest of these teams can really have what it takes to compete with DeMeco Ryans and what they've built in Houston and continue to build, because this team isn't done by any stretch. They want to become that Super Bowl contender that everybody's kind of been hoping they'd be. So
I don't see it.
Not this year. But, I mean, who knows? Maybe we can be swayed. Maybe C.J. Stroud comes out and has an MVP caliber year, and we're all talking about the Houston Texans as one of the top teams in the AFC this year.
Yeah, maybe they get Nick Chubb as Nick Chubb.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll see.
And that's one of the biggest acquisitions, I think, of the offseason was pairing Nick Chubb with Joe Mixon. I think with this tandem of a backfield now, there should be no excuse at all for you not to have a top 5 running game in the NFL. You have a solid offensive line, a great quarterback that plays off of the play action very, very well. This all boils down to should be a top offense for the AFC, if not the NFL.
So the real question is, who do you got at 2?
Jacksonville.
Me too.
Honestly, and it's not by leaps and bounds either.
Right.
You know,
I would not bet that money.
No, not at all. And I don't expect them to fight for a wild card spot either in this situation. I think you're probably around 8 and 9, 7 and 10, somewhere in that area.
And that's giving them a plus.
I have to agree. It's nothing against Trevor Lawrence. I just don't think Jacksonville has it built correctly down there yet. I really don't. I think with the new coach coming in, being an offensive-minded guy, I like it. But there's still something about him, Coach Con. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't
you
get
think
behind
Trevor's going to get another coach fired?
It's possible. It genuinely is possible. But again, I can't necessarily say he's the one getting them fired. I think they're getting themselves fired.
Yeah. I mean, the overall. But when you go, their name is quarterback for a reason.
Yeah.
They're captain of that team.
True. And Trevor came in as arguably one of the most hyped up quarterbacks of the generation.
Ideally, do you think Trevor takes a step forward?
I want to say yes. That's the one part of this team besides Travis Hunter that I need to see you be a star. Like it's kind of like Justin Herbert in a way.
Exactly.
It's so good, yet you are on such a bad team that it really bugs me, right? And neither of them have had any playoff exposure outside of the game they played against each other that ended in such a historically just rough way.
What do you think Travis Hunter brings that at least excitement to get those over to maybe 7-8 wins?
I say
because they're coming off a 4-win season.
I think you can double that. I genuinely do. I think the team you have, you can double that. But especially the competition you're going up against, because 24th in scheduling right now in the easiest schedule. You can turn this season around. I genuinely think that. But if you're Jacksonville, you need to start finding people to develop these players and build a team because it's not working. If you're the owner, Con, and you're sitting there wondering why is Jacksonville not, why is this not working out for me? Why is the AEW looking better than my own football team?
The AEW of football.
It's so bad, man.
We're giving them a lot of love.
We are. And honestly, and this is saying something because I almost put Tennessee over them. I almost put the Titans over them because Cam coming out into camp and everything that I've seen from the tapes and stuff like that and just the overall message. I've said this a million times, I think the fact that you haven't heard anything about Cam Ward is a good thing.
Yesterday they were blowing him up.
I know. And that's why I'm saying that. The offseason of not talking about him being the first overall pick and all that type of stuff and the hype going around with it, that's a good thing. Let him not have that pressure. Because I think that's what breaks a lot of first overall picks a lot of the time is they come in with all of this pressure of being that guy for this team. If you don't put that on his back.
And that's the thing I'm worried about with Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
I mean, if
you're kind of doing that with him.
I mean, I think he's going to be a hell of a player. But his rookie season, I know he can go two ways. I know everybody's been talking about it before the draft. But maybe out of all the teams, the Jaguars is probably not the team you want to try that out at.
No. And honestly, I don't see this working. I really don't. Like, don't get me wrong. I see him being put into offensive schemes and stuff like that and being put into packages 100% and utilized when they can. But to have Travis Hunter play both ways as a starter is not going to work.
And you're drafted on a team that won 4 games last year, have trying to find a new identity, and maybe that's where you don't run your star out of gas too early.
Just take this last couple weeks of the training camp as a deterrent, really, and as an omen. We've seen corners and wide receivers specifically drop due to injury in the last couple of days, and that's probably due to overworking or something of that nature. If you overwork Travis this quickly, you are just sprinting him towards either an injury or a shortened career. And
exactly.
It's not going to work out for you. That's why I'm like, I still say have him pick one or the other and then build packages where he can be utilized in both.
Yeah, because we've heard from, veteran receivers and veteran players that are
He's
saying,
going to get
go ahead,
blown up.
Go ahead, play defense.
Could you imagine?
We'll just run all out.
He has to play the Cincinnati, or he has to play these teams all 2 times a year. Okay, he has to play Houston, the Titans, and the Colts 2 times a year. So let's say he's playing the Colts, okay, and he goes out there and runs a 9 and blows past the corner, scores a touchdown. Then he returns a kick for you, runs it back 25 yards. Then he has to play against Michael Pittman, who's one of the biggest wide receivers in the league, and cover him, and he's immediately going to get blown up because he can't handle at least staying with him because he's so gassed. I just don't see this working out at all. I think that Jacksonville would benefit from just finding what Travis is the best at and building around that. But again, this still puts them at number 2 in the AFC South at the moment. But it was really hard for me not to put the Tennessee Titans over them this year. It really, really was. We got a phone call real quick.
We got Daily.
Daily Dave, how are you, sir?
Hey, good morning, guys. I'm thinking about the word you just used, overworked.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do with Saquon Barkley this year? They worked him perfectly. He had a great year. They won the Super Bowl. I thought Derrick Henry was going to be the one to bring the Super Bowl to the Ravens. So now my question for you guys is, how much do we give the ball to Saquon this year as defending Super Bowl champs?
I say if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly.
I say keep going as long as he can go.
And that team is built for him.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, if he was in Jacksonville, I would say maybe not.
Well, and we're also talking about a team that has arguably the best offensive line in football that protect Saquon and Jalen very, very well. So the lack of hits that they take compared to when he was playing with the Giants, I think really helps him out with that situation a lot. There's way more breakaway speed, obviously, that's being utilized because he's not getting hit as often. I personally think, and I agree with you, I think Derrick Henry is going to be helping the Ravens at least get to a Super Bowl here in the next year or so. But if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think the biggest overworked position has to be the cornerback.
I like your answer. I've been using that since the 80s when I worked for certain companies. I say, if it ain't broke, don't come in here and try to fix it.
That's exactly right.
Answer.
I mean,
No, you're right.
If there's anything that happens, obviously, any developments, then they'll have to make that happen. But as of right now, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I agree with you, though. Overworking players is becoming a problem. We've seen it, and we talked about it earlier in the show. Maybe that's why a lot of these guys are seeing so many ACL and season-ending injuries so early. God only knows.
But we'll take our final break of the hour, and we'll recap the AFC South and finish it off right here on the Early Bird Special.
What's Teen Spirit smell like?
I smelled it yesterday.
I was just
picked up
about to
my
ask.
son from band camp.
Yeah, that's probably true.
It's not Old Spice. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, it's Old Spices, but it's not Old Spice.
And I will be smelling it for about 2.5 hours after band camp, as we're finally going to watch Fantastic Four tonight.
Fantastic. Honestly, I can't wait to hear what you say about it. I need to go see it this weekend. But we'll get to some other entertainment stuff on the other side of the break because we got to get to Happy Gilmore 2. We didn't get to talk about that in the last couple of days. I watched that immediately. I'm not going to lie. I could have talked about it on Monday, but it was one of those situations where we had too much to get to. And when I tell you there are 72 cameos in this movie, 72. I'm not joking. There are so many professional golfers, professional athletes that are in this movie that everybody wanted to be a part of it. And who doesn't? It's Adam Sandler. I mean, I know there's a lot of people who don't care for his humor. I find you to be ridiculous. Adam Sandler is an American treasure, and I will stand by that statement along with Kevin Smith and many, many others. Let's wrap up our thoughts, though, on the AFC North. I'm sorry, the AFC South. We talked about the North yesterday.
Sorry, we're not doing a giveaway.
Uh-oh.
She was listening to the right station,
But wrong giveaway?
yeah,
No
she was
giveaways
the
today,
11th
I'm sorry.
caller. But if you want a shirt,
I mean, we
want
can
one of these early bird shirts.
we
I
got
got you.
plenty of early bird shirts.
call me
we can
back,
give away.
sweetheart. But
I was wondering why you were shaking your head. It's like, what happened? Did we get?
I thought she had the stations wrong, but she was listening to the early bird special. The Colts is what I got at third.
At third, see, I got the Titans. And It's only because they have figured out their quarterback situation. And I think that in itself is going to give them some success this year going in. Plus, they're looking at the 4th easiest schedule in the NFL going into next season. And
those schedule rankings are horse.
You could say that, but they're really not when you look at it at the end of the year. It depends on which divisions they're actually going up against and all of that. It really just helps looking at the competition they're looking at going forward here.
They're going off of last year's stats, though.
Well, last year's records, yes. Yeah. But like I said, that's true in a certain sense. But when you look at how successful a lot of these teams were, and let's be honest, we haven't exactly changed any of the rankings. So if they were unsuccessful last year, we're probably going to think they're unsuccessful this year.
We just gave a 4-win team 8 wins.
No, I understand that. I said 7, but again, regardless, it's one of those situations that it may work out for the Titans this year. Just because the new rookie quarterback coming in, it's not Will Levis. And at this point, if you're Tennessee going against probably the weakest division in football in the AFC South, it's arguable between them and the NFC South. I think that they're looking at least semi-decent to get 6 wins. 5 wins, 6 wins this year and make a little bit of a step forward as they did last season, then they did last season, I should say. I believe in Cam Ward, and as I said before the break, the fact that you hadn't heard much about him coming into this is probably a good thing. I think this is going to be one of the first instances we see a first overall pick not really come in with that kind of hype and pressure on him, which is going to benefit him going forward, and his play can only get better. Because without that kind of a pressure, it would actually benefit him because he can worry about his play on the field rather than what the media is going to be saying about him after the game.
Yeah, I'm going with the Colts in 3rd, and it is a coin flip. I love Jonathan Taylor, and I swear that Anthony Richardson is not a starting quarterback, and he will not start that whole season, and I still think Daniel Jones is going to take that job from him. And going into my 4th was the Titans. I know they only won 3 games last year, but I love the direction the team is going. So I could flip-flop, and I say it in my notes. This team could surprise us and be the 2nd team in division by the end of the season. But I want to see what, it's always tough when you have the number 1 pick in the draft and then try to turn it around.
Yeah.
But luckily they're in a weak division, and that's why I still have the Titans at the bottom, but it's very slim, and I think that they can easily turn it around and go above the Colts and the Jaguars.
See, I have the Colts at the bottom solely because they haven't figured out their quarterback situation, right? And to be honest, when I look at their quarterback room, neither of those guys are starting quarterbacks. So Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson, both, regardless of who you choose, is not going to be a successful year for you. And granted, you may have Jonathan Taylor and you re-signed your tackle to a $100 million contract yesterday and all of this stuff that you're doing going forward. That's great. But until you solidify arguably the second most important position, well, actually, no, it's the most important position, second hardest position to play, because I still say corner is the hardest position to play. The most important position on the field, though, is the quarterback. And if you do not have somebody that is capable of leading your team at that point, I can't exactly put you anywhere near 2nd or 3rd place in your division. Personally, I think this is going to be a really bad year for the Colts. I think they're probably maybe going to get 4 wins. Maybe.
I'd be surprised if any of those 3 teams get 8 wins.
I really would too. Again, the Titans, I'm being nice with the 6. I think that you could probably get a little bit more because obviously you're not having Will Levis throw interceptions as much. But it's one of those situations where, like we said coming into this is a really, really, really bad division. And outside of teams like the Giants and a handful of others, can't say there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to be worse than a lot of these teams we talked about right now.
We'll get into the NFC South, and I think the same thing with that division. So
exactly. So at this point, it is what it is. It's going to be one of those rough years for the South, and this is just how the NFL goes, right? I mean, a couple years ago, we were talking about the NFC South as one of the toughest divisions in football when they had Matt Ryan, Cam Newton, Drew Brees. I mean, it was hard to say any of those teams in the South weren't going to make the playoffs. Now, I mean, rehashing and reviving your franchises happens more often than people think.
Somebody's got to make the playoffs.
Exactly. And rebuild years happen every single year. So hopefully your team doesn't have to worry about that this season. But we will see as the NFL season kicks off here on Thursday. You could hear the Hall of Fame game right here on ESPN Bakersfield starting at 5 o'clock as the Lions head to LA to take on the Chargers.
Canton.
Oh, that's right. It's in Canton. I'm dumb. I see the @Chargers and I immediately think they're going to SoFi. You're right. It's in Canton, so it will not be in LA. But we got to take a break real quick, pay some bills. We'll get to the NFC South on the other side. This is the Early Bird Special on 101.1 FM, 1230 AM, ESPN Bakersfield. Welcome back. Early Bird Special, Hour 2. We just gave you our AFC South thoughts. We're going to shift over to the NFC, and then on the other side, we'll talk a little wrestling as Vince McMahon is back in the news for... Well, it's never good news. What am I talking about? When Vince is in the news, it's never good news.
We'll talk Happy Gilmore.
We'll also talk Happy Gilmore.
We'll talk WWE Unreal.
There's plenty to talk about. But we got to run down the NFC South real quick. As we just told you about the AFC South, it's going to be an ugly year for the South Divisions. Ugly year. I expect the Houston Texans to probably get about 10 wins. Everybody else, I'm going to be surprised if you make it past 7. When it comes to the NFC South... We may see it one more time, but we may see a team with a losing record actually win this division. That's where I'm kind of seeing this shape up.
That's what I was thinking. The NFC South is barely better than the AFC South.
Barely. And that's not saying much. But it pains me to say it, Sparky. And I know you're not going to be on my team when tomorrow when you do your division, but Tampa Bay is going to win.
That's why I'm going to go with Tampa until they're dethroned. And as long as Baker's there, I mean, he takes the chances. But I'm a defensive guy, and I like Tampa's D.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Defense is going to kill in the NFC South this year, and I have to agree with you. I think the defense of Tampa Bay really just outmatches a lot of what the rest of you're going to see from this division, especially from teams like Atlanta, who's really... They've been trying to retool the defense, but they've been losing a lot of key players on it the last couple of years and haven't really been able to fill those gaps when needed. Tampa Bay, to me, is just consistent. They're consistently challenging to beat by everybody's record. I mean, it doesn't matter if they're playing someone from the NFC South or if they're playing somebody from the AFC West. They're going to be a tough team to beat. Baker Mayfield, as much as I loved hating on him when he was at Oklahoma, still stand by my statement that he has one of the most punchable faces in football.
Yes, he does.
But
he has with Kirk Cousins.
He has won me over. He really has. His play and his demeanor, his maturity, how he's become this quarterback for Tampa Bay. He has won not only myself, but a vast majority of football fans over. And to be honest with you, I agree with you until I see otherwise, a team like Atlanta or somebody else to step into that role and take this division over from them. I'm going to have to say Tampa Bay wins this division as either a 9-8 or an 8-9.
I got him winning 10.
Do you have him at 10? See, I got him at 9-8 right now, but there's something in my head that tells me the NFC South is going to be that division with a team with a losing record that actually wins it, which obviously everybody hates.
Yeah.
And we're going to get a lot of grief about that because that happened last year, and that's why the Lions and everybody wanted to make that new rule this year of it didn't matter what your record was to get a home field game. Personally, I find it to be ridiculous, but it is what it is.
Quit screwing with it.
Exactly. But at this point, Tampa Bay, led by Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans, who is a Hall of Famer and arguably one of the best wide receivers to play in this entire generation. I think he gets overlooked a lot. And I think at the end of his career, we're going to be talking about Mike Evans as one of the best receivers, at least top 10. Probably.
I love Evans. I think Godwin doesn't get any respect or love anyways.
Godwin doesn't anymore, or at least the last year or two because of the injury plagues. But I do agree with you. He is a consistent threat every single time. And the fact that they were able to lock in both of those guys, even with the Tom Brady contract back then, it's been a testament to what Tampa Bay has been able to do. And you're right. I mean, all of that while still finding some of the sneakiest, sneaky good defensive guys, right? Your Davids, your Vita Veas, all that. Obviously you had Whitfield Jr. out in the back, and it just The defense is stacked every single year. Tampa Bay is going to be tough. I think number 2 in the NFC South, I'm going to give to the Atlanta Falcons.
I would hope.
I mean, at this point, again, much like Tampa Bay, I think it's going to be a 1-2 punch here for who wins this division. But it could end up being an 8-9 season for either of these teams. And if Atlanta comes out and has a sophomore slump with Penix, that's going to be a problem because all of the pieces that you've already been building around, I don't know how long Kyle Pitts is going to be part of the team, although everything we see in camp is he's been targeted a lot and this entire relationship between him and Penix is working out. But
I know they've lined him up at receiver a lot more.
There's just way too many question marks when it comes to Atlanta for me.
I like Atlanta just because of this division. I took Atlanta at second, but I love Penix too. So I'm hoping that he is the starting quarterback of the future for Atlanta. And I really hope that they can get Cousins out of there before week 1, just because I don't want to hear the whispers of Cousins all season.
Well,
but
it's gonna be
I just want Penix to have a clear shot to be their starting quarterback. What I've seen and what other people have seen from the early parts of Penix last year, I think he's a solid quarterback. I just want to see how they play out this offense with him at quarterback 1.
Barring an injury setback, I think Penix is the quarterback 1 for the foreseeable future for Atlanta. Outside of some sort of major injury that could happen here in the next couple of weeks, it has really been the talk of the camp that he has won over everybody, and he's really shown that he is an NFL caliber quarterback. I agree with you that with Kirk there, obviously there's going to be nothing but the media stirring it up, especially if there's one bad game, much like they did last year with Kirk, though. So maybe this is a good thing for Michael. Maybe this is something that he needs to go through as well. And honestly, if Atlanta learned anything from last season, don't listen to other people about the quarterback situation, I guess. You know what I mean? Like everybody came in, including myself, saying this Kirk Cousins deal was ridiculous and that was the dumbest deal in the world. And at the same time, you drafting a quarterback at the first round didn't make a lot of sense. But obviously with the injury to Kirk Cousins halfway through the season and Michael Penix being able to step into that role and the team's offense didn't take a step back at all. So maybe they do that this year. Maybe they just sit there and decide, you know what? I know everybody's saying move on from Kirk, but until Kirk comes to us and says, I refuse to play for you unless I'm the starter, maybe you keep him there just in case something happens with Michael. Because let's not forget, Michael Penix did have some injury history back in college.
Yeah. It's like Cousins.
Yeah.
But,
so
I mean, that's a lot of money for a backup quarterback is what I'm saying.
Oh, 100%. I'm not sitting here saying that the money that they're paying him is warranted in any way, shape, or form. What I'm saying is that maybe they just throw caution to the wind and say until we are literally forced to move on from Kirk Cousins.
Sold on Penix.
Yeah. Maybe we just keep him just in case Michael goes down with an injury this year. But just in case.
That is a rough way to look at a season. Though.
I know. But I mean, again, that's exactly what they did last year with Kirk Cousins, right? They came in, Kirk was a starter. We drafted Michael just in case something happens with Kirk. Just in case. You never know what happens.
It's different when you're drafting a quarterback for a backup, but paying somebody starting quarterback money for a backup is a little different.
No, absolutely.
But I think Penix is going to be a gunslinger, and I look forward to seeing him in Atlanta. And if he is as good as I think he's going to be, I wouldn't be surprised that he gets into the playoffs this year and leapfrogs Tampa, but it's going to be between those two.
If Atlanta is going to do that, in my opinion, you need to start basing the offense around what more Philadelphia does. You need Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier to be running the ball 50 to 60% of the time. And I mean that because every time those two touch a football, including Drake London, it's magic.
Yeah.
It is absolute
cinema. It could go anywhere.
And it is exciting. They always get positive yards. I don't even think you can count on one hand how many times Tyler Algier was hit in the backfield last year and lost yards. It's one of those situations where, much like we just told Daily Dave, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If you have success in the area, don't fix it. And I think that's one thing that Atlanta could really benefit from is if you focus this offense more around Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier and really get a run-first situation going, not only will you take the pressure off of Michael Penix and allow him to flourish in different ways, but you put Bijan in a situation that essentially makes him an MVP candidate. Because let's be honest, he has the talent to be that. But it's really putting him in the right situations to do so. And if you do that, you also entice these players to stay longer. Because I'm not going to lie to you, if I'm Tyler Algier, I'm sitting here thinking, although I love playing in Atlanta, but Bijan's taking up all my carries, and I'm a starting running back. Because he is. So if I'm Atlanta, I maybe shift the offense a little bit, go more run-centered, or at least centered around getting Bijan the ball a little bit more. Maybe we do put Kyle Pitts out a wide receiver instead and get a blocking tight end. It might work out a little bit better for you. But I think you need to make little adjustments to really put yourself in front of Tampa Bay right now. I just don't know if Atlanta has done that, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I would love to say a lot of these young rookies coming in on the defensive side are going to be able to fill the void that Grady Jarrett and a lot of these guys are leaving. But let's be honest, Grady Jarrett every single year was one of the pinnacles of consistency at defensive tackle and was one of those guys you could consistently believe in to get to the quarterback. Without that, on a team that has been historically bad at sacking a quarterback in Atlanta in the last decade and a half since the John Abraham days, it's not looking good for the Atlanta defense. So until I see something better out of that side of the ball, I can't necessarily say that Atlanta is going to take this division wholeheartedly from Tampa Bay.
Well, since you're an Atlanta fan, realistically, what do you see the overall record at the end of the season? Just as a fan, not just as a sports fan, but as a Falcons fan.
Falcons fan, I would hope we're somewhere in the 10-7 range. That is probably the ceiling, I would say, if not a little bit higher than that. But I've been shocked before. But honestly, knowing how these things usually go and how this season probably is going to shape up, I mean, I know you brought it up earlier that you don't believe in a lot of the percentages and stuff like that of the toughest schedule. Atlanta's got the 20th hardest schedule next year. So Tampa Bay is right above them at 19. I genuinely believe 8-9 is a fair record for them right now, at least as a analytic standpoint, if not a little bit lower.
Yeah, I was looking at 7-8.
I think
7-8 wins.
Yeah, I think 7-8 wins is probably a fair number for Atlanta right now, unless, again, they come out and this defense shocks everybody this year and they actually put something together.
Well, we'll take our first break of the hour. We'll wrap up the NFC South, and we'll get into some entertainment news, some Happy Gilmore talk, some wrestling. WWE Unreal was released yesterday. We'll talk about that and much more. Plus, we'll get to your texts. I've got them right here on the Early Bird Special on ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM. Welcome back. This is the Early Bird Special right here on ESPN Bakersfield, 101.1 FM, 12:30 a.m. And don't forget, you can go follow us on all social media platforms as well at the Early Bird Special Official. You'll find a little logo there, just a little cartoon bird and a worm. You'll see a couple of our clips on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We are all over the place. And go follow us on YouTube as well. You can watch the show every single day from 7 to 9 in the morning. Follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. You'll get a notification every time we go live and every time a new video gets put up. I try to put up at least a handful of videos a week, our interviews and stuff like that, just to kind of give you guys, if you don't want to sit through the whole 2-hour show. I know there's a lot of you that are too busy, you don't want to go through that, but you'd rather hear some of our segments. I'll be uploading a lot of our NFL segments and our breakdowns of the seasons this year.
I did get a request.
Yes, of course.
From a good friend, Michelle, wants to hear the Leanne.
Of course. Now that is going to be up on the YouTube channel here within a day or so. I promise. That's what I'm working on.
Her new show, Leanne,
drops on Thursday.
Drops tomorrow, as well as football starting. And I believe the trade deadline in baseball is tomorrow.
Yes,
we'll have a busy show tomorrow.
It's gonna be exciting. I can't wait to see all the baseball moves today and tomorrow, because there's a handful that I've been waiting for, especially with Philadelphia. But we won't get to that. Let's wrap up our thoughts on the NFC South real quick. Obviously, we both had Tampa Bay and Atlanta taking 1 and 2. I still stand by that this might be the division that we see a losing record in. I genuinely believe, but it is what it is. Third and fourth, I think we both are in the same category here. It's going to be walking into this, but I got Carolina at 3 with about 5 wins.
Same as last year?
Same as last year. I see that you have made a little bit of some adjustments, but I don't think they are big enough to actually make a difference. Although I do think we will see a little bit more of a consistent year at quarterback this year from Bryce Young. And I think that is going to be a great step forward for the Carolina Panthers. to build on. I just don't know if you're going to have what it takes to take on a lot of these other teams outside of the NFC South.
And see, I've heard other shows, Canty, talking about he thinks Carolina is going to surprise. That's the surprise team for him. I think Carolina could surprise some people, but I'm more nervous about the management and the coaching.
Yeah.
That they do not stick with Bryce, kind of like what they did last year, and they kept Dalton for a reason. And I like Bryce Young, but hopefully this was a big offseason for him. Obviously, he had to learn a lot last year by being benched, and then they put him back in after Dalton got hurt,
and he
played
good.
A lot better.
Yeah, he looked good.
So, I mean, if you're thinking some of the division winner is going to be under 500, man, that puts Carolina real deep. But luckily, they're in a division with the Saints.
That's what I'm saying. Now, when it comes to the Carolina Panthers, I think you're in a better situation. I think Canty might be right that this could be a surprise team for a lot of people. I could be way off base, and Bryce could come out and they could look like the Alabama Crimson Tide. Like they really could. I've
got them winning 6 or 7.
I got them about 5. I think that is a fair number, and 6 is a good number as well, but I don't think you're going to be contending just yet.
No.
I think you give it one more year, and you're going to have some great quarterback battles here in the next 5 to 6 years between Penix and Young. But right now, I think it's really just not the year for the Panthers just yet. However, I have to agree with you. At least you're not the New Orleans Saints, who I'm going to tell you right now, this is not just me being a Falcons fan. I know a lot of you are thinking, oh, of course he thinks the Saints are at the bottom. No, I'm picking the Saints to maybe win 2 games this year. Maybe. And honestly, one of them might be my Falcons, which is really going to irk me because for some reason, we always lose to the Saints once a year. I don't get it. I will never get it, but it is what it is. Here's my thought process, though. I'm still saying you guys are going to be at the bottom of the NFL along with the Giants. But I think it's on purpose. I genuinely believe the Saints know Tyler Shuck is not the answer. And they're waiting for Archie. I know it's been at the talk of around. I know it's stupid. Look, I've been saying it for a couple weeks, and then now I'm hearing ESPN start to talk about it too. But I'm telling you right now, we've seen teams do it with Trevor Lawrence. We've seen your own Dolphins do it with Tua Tagovailoa. Shoot, you can honestly say that the Titans may have done it last year for Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah.
So it is not outside of the realm of possibility that the Saints are boiling this down saying, we're going to try. Don't get me wrong, we're going to try.
And there's some talented quarterbacks coming out of college this year. Not just Archie. I don't think Arch comes, and I heard an interview yesterday while I was driving around, and he wants to do something that his older brothers didn't do. He wants to win a championship.
Uncles, but yes.
And he also thinks that he's going to probably play 2 years at least.
I would think that as well.
And going by it, like I was happy to see Kellen Moore get his head coaching position with the Saints, and then everything started falling right behind him. I'm gonna agree with you. I don't think they get 2 wins.
It's gonna be a rough year for the Saints.
I don't think they get 2 wins. I think Kamara gets traded. I think everybody wants out. And sadly, it's all going to land on the new head coach. Mm-hmm. And maybe they give him a year off because he's going to have to revamp this whole roster. And I've seen I was watching videos outside waiting for band camp to end. But I was watching the Ole Miss quarterback. There's some other quarterbacks that I think would be an immediate upgrade, obviously, with the Saints and other teams like the Giants. But
you could pick up a free agent quarterback right now that'll be an immediate upgrade for the Saints.
Yes, and I don't know why they haven't.
It's, again, that's why I feel like they're just
sitting there waiting.
They're either in Delulu that Tyler Shuck is the answer, or they're just sitting there thinking,
no, we're just going to tank.
We'll tank for a year or 2 and pick up the Manning boy. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if there are 2 organizations that have talked about that more than anybody, it's the Giants and the Saints.
Yep.
Even with the Giants taking Jackson Dart. And they believe in Jackson Dart. They really do. I don't think
he sees the field this year.
I don't know if he will either. I think Russell is going to be the starter all year for the Giants.
And personally, I think the Giants will be better. They don't have a lot to look up to.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
I think they'll be way better than the Saints. Yeah. And I'm staying away from every Saints player I'm not
touching it. No.
Anybody in fantasy And
unless
I
you
love
do
Kamara.
defensive players, and then I would say probably take Cam Jordan because he's a consistent threat. But I have to agree with you, Sparky. Outside of that,
so
and
tough.
maybe Alvin Kamara.
And I've got some
Maybe.
family that, I mean, maybe to pick up Kamara just to see where he lands by week 4 or 5.
I was talking to some Saints fans who work here at AGM, and they immediately said, "Oh no, this is going to be a bad year."
I've got family in New Orleans over there in Hammond, Louisiana, and they are pissed.
There's not a lot of love going on right now for the football team in New Orleans.
And these Saints fans are heavy. They have season tickets. They go every year, and I don't think
they
they're even
went
going to want to
during
go
the
now.
hurricane. Like their stadium got destroyed, and they were still showing up to pack out the stadium. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's the Saints, so that's what bugs me. But they have the second easiest record this year, second easiest schedule going into this year behind the Niners, and they're still gonna maybe get 2 games. That's how I feel about this team. Like, it's that bad. I don't see
giving them a couple.
Yeah, and that I don't see a single positive on the offensive side. I really don't. Outside, and that's with Alvin Kamara there. But Alvin Kamara last year was already, stirring up trade talk. I think for sure that this is going to be one of those years for the Saints where you just see a tank. And then maybe they pick up a great left tackle in the draft next year, and they just wait for Archie. I genuinely feel like the Saints are planning that exact plan, and we're going to hear more and more about it throughout the season. Because, one, it would be an incredible story for the NFL. I really believe that because Grandpa played there, was very successful as a Saints quarterback, and for grandson to come in and do the exact same thing would be incredible for the organization. The Saints fandom would embrace him immediately. I mean, they do with everybody. Let's not get crazy. They did it with Derek too. But when you talking about this kid becoming a New Orleans favorite son, the Manning family is coveted down there. I genuinely believe that their plan is we're going to chalk it up to tanking for Archie. And if he comes out next year, great. If he comes out the year after that, great. I think they will legitimately wait unless somebody pops up, like you said, that they really, really love next year. Maybe the Ole Miss quarterback, maybe the guy out of Alabama. Who knows? It could be anybody at this point in time. We don't know who the Heisman candidates are. It's way too early to say. But I have to agree with you, Sparky. I say maybe 2 wins this year for the Saints. Maybe.
And I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Grandma. I know she loves her Saints, but it is going to be tough.
It's going to be a rough year, man. It really, really is for both South divisions. It is. But that's why I'm saying, I mean, I know we said the NFC South is a little more competitive than the AFC South. I don't even know if that's true. I really don't. I think that both of them are equally as bad, and just we're going to be seeing some rough football out of the South. But there's always going to be that 1 or 2 teams that comes out on top. Obviously, the Houston Texans and Buccaneers being the most recent. There's some hopeful ones out there if you're talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Atlanta Falcons. But everything else just looks ugly in the South.
We'll take our break. We'll talk a little entertainment. We've got some news for Vince McMahon, WWE Unreal, and we've got to talk Happy Gilmore. I finally finished it. We'll talk about that and much more. Plus, we'll get to your text. If you got anything to say, feel free. 661-842-2000. We are the Early Bird Special.